All right, just swapped the batteries on the GoPros, then moved a few feet while I was gone. I have probably 30 minutes of video. It's got 28% power. So I'm gonna try and get everything I can done today. And if it cuts out on us, then I am going to just end the video and I'll upload what I have. All right. Ready? I do like to ground tie my horses, but I think I'm just going to hang on to the edge of the rope. Notice how I never ever wrap the rope around my arm. It's always loose. I'll take rope burn. I don't want to take missing limbs. Good girl. That was so good. That was a really good one. Now this is only the second day that I'm going to come out and try haltering her. The last couple of times before the wedding, I've actually just, connected the rope to her current halter, the one that's been on, and I haven't messed with haltering her. But I am going to mess with it today. Oh, you good girl. Good. Nice. So obviously reaching under her, that was something that made her tense. We process different things every day. Good girl. I think I'm going to do that one again. Good girl. I'm going to wait for that blink. Notice I'm not staring directly in her eyes. There. I'm kind of looking off to the side. Kind of relaxed eyes, watching her in my peripherals. More looking at her nose. When I'm right up next to her, I don't want to stare her in the eyes. I'll do it from over here at a distance, but not when I'm like right next to her. All right, I'm gonna do it again. That was so good. Good girl. You're such a good girl, Zach. You're such a good girl. There we go. We practiced haltering. I'm going to let her hang out for a second. I'm really not even going to use that halter today. I'm just going to let her wear it. At some point in a few minutes, I'll take it off because I don't need it. The important thing to practice is taking it off and putting it on. So we got that lick and chew. She was starting to kind of doze off for a second, but she was doing it with tension in her body. And since I'm just coming back from a wedding, I haven't really worked with her much the last week. I'm going to give her some time, but I also don't have a lot of time left on the GoPro. So I'm going to try and expedite this just a little bit to show you everything we've been doing. Good. There, I'm picking up on the rope. Good. So when I'm leading with her, what I've been doing is I'll pick up on the rope, take the slack out, close my fingers around it, give a little tug, wait for that foot, and then release. Take the slack out, hold my fingers around it. Oh, she released. So basically, every time she takes a step forward, this rope gets loose, and that is how she learns that when she feels that rope tug, the thing to do is to take a step. That was a good one. Very good. Good girl. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the purple halter off now. Good girl. And after I do this for a few days, I'm actually going to start taking it off over her ears. So when I take it off, it's going to come up here. Good girl. Because when she wears a bridle, I have to get stuff on and over her ears. And a halter is a perfect way to practice that without worry of the bit in their mouth. Because if you're taking stuff over their ears and they have a bit in their mouth at the same time, and they throw their head around like you saw Zen do just then. So see how she's kind of like lifting her head when I touch her ears. Oh, that was very good. Good girl. Sometimes they'll toss their head. That bit can bounce off their teeth when you do that. See? That bit can bounce off their teeth when you do that. And that makes it really uncomfortable. She got my hand up. She's nervous. I'm going to either wait for a blink or she can drop her head just a little bit. And do it again. So these are just all normal horse things. So I got to blink that time. So those are my options. Blink or put her head down a little. That was both. Good girl. Those are all normal horse things that they have to get used to. Good girl. I know it looks like there's a lot of poop here in her pen. She really just uses this area. And I clean it up about every other day, but I tend to video first. I shouldn't do that. All right, fly spray and brushing time. All of my horses have to learn how to ground tie when they're getting groomed. Zen is no different. If she makes a mistake, then I'll catch her and put her right back. Most horses prefer it if you approach them from the shoulder first. Zen actually prefers to be approached from the head first. So she picks her head up, but there's a blink. And this is what I've been doing with everything. It's kind of the same pattern. I want to touch her ears. I get to a point where she's comfortable, maybe touching her neck, and I wait for her to either lower her head or to blink, to show a sign of relaxation. Then I stop, then I repeat. If I want to brush her, I brush, I wait for a blink, then I stop, wait, repeat. If I want to fly spray her, I get to a point where I can fly spray her. I wait for a blink, I step back, stop with the spray, repeat. If I had a horse that was terrified of the fly spray and I like came at them with it, because some horses do learn to get afraid of the fly spray, then I might get a water bottle so I'm not wasting fly spray and spray it in the air away from them and wait until they blink, stop, wait, repeat. So it's the same pattern over and over and over again with these horses, just with a new skill. And I try and shuffle it up, keep it interesting, make sure that every couple of times I'm giving her that chance to relax I've learned how to read horse body language just through training, so I can tell the difference between a tense horse and a relaxed horse just by the shape of their eyes and this tension around their muzzle. With Zen, she tends to hold a little bit of tension. She kind of stays in that yellow zone anytime I'm working with her, and very rarely goes into that green zone of just total relaxation. But as long as she's in the lower part of that yellow zone, she can still learn. So it's important for her to get a chance to stop, reflect, lick and chew, and then we go back. And then after that, she tends to do a lot of learning when I'm away. So if I end on a good note, where she's relaxed, and then I leave for the day, she'll kind of stand around for a while and lick and chew and think about it. And the next day when I come back, she remembers that information a lot more. As a student, I actually learned a lot like that as well. I could never do something right the first time. There's that lick and chew. But I have always been amazed at how well I can learn something if I just sleep on it. So for me, the sleeping on it, I guess my brain just processes everything then, and I can be totally awful at something one day and come back the next day and just master it right away. And I wouldn't have done that if I just kept practicing on day one. I really have to sleep on it. So I think Zen learns a little bit like that too, which does slow us down a little bit. It means I can see when she gets to a point where I'm like, I really need to stop for today. She needs to sleep on this. But it does also mean she learns quickly when I give her the chance to sleep on things. So I'm going to go over here and brush. I'm going to get tense, but I'm just brushing. There's a blink, and I retreat. I'm actually going to go to the other side. She's probably going to be a little more tense on the right side because I haven't been on that side yet today, so you'll get to see that. Step around the hoop. Yep, there's that tension, there's that blink. There, I step back. Good girl. Good girl. You're so good. You are, you're a good girl. So that's the recipe for horse training. Do something they can handle. Wait for a blink, wait for relaxation. Pause, repeat. See how many times you can identify that in a training session. So this is something she can handle. She's tense about it, but she can handle it. She didn't run off. If I were to throw a saddle on her back, she would be very upset. So she's bending towards me, but I need that blink. There's the blink. I step back. Good girl. And wait. Good. She wants to lick and chew. I think if I let her sit long enough, she would. But again, I don't know how much battery's on that GoPro. So I'm going to go ahead and go a little bit quickly now, and then when the GoPro dies, I'll do a big rest with her and hang out for a bit, let her think about things. For now, I'm just going to wait for her to visually calm down after I brush. Alright. So I've been brushing. I skipped a few blinks. Oops. Dropped my brush. I'm not going to go for it. I'm just going to keep petting her. Wait for that blink. There it is. Retreat. I do clicker training sometimes with horses too. I really like it. I am in the process of loading the clicker for Zen. I don't know that I'm going to use it, but it's good to have it as a tool if I need it. And when you do clicker training, there's something called an intermittent training schedule, which basically means you don't have to give them a treat every single time you click. Sometimes you, like the dog's learning how to sit, so you want it to sit without the treat in the future, right? So you click when it sits and then give it a treat. Click when it sits, give it a treat. But when the dog gets good at that, you might do click when it sits, no treat. Just say, oh, good boy. And the dog's like, hey, where's my treat? Next time, you give it a treat. And so you start to develop this schedule where you only give a treat every other click, or maybe every 5 clicks, until eventually you don't really have to carry a treat with you at all, and maybe just every so often, maybe every 5 or 6 days, that's when you give the dog a treat. And that sounds kind of cruel. It's like, where's my treat? But it's funny, what actually happens at a neurological level is the animal still gets a reward from doing the behavior, a mental reward. And it's actually a lot like a gambling habit, where it's like, oh, well, maybe it's this time. Maybe this time I'm gonna win. And that also sounds kind of mean, and it's better than that. It's just, that's the analogy I have. But it's actually really cool. You get the animals wanting to behave. Hi. Because every so often they get this jackpot from it, where, you know, they get this treat. But in the meantime, they don't necessarily get punished. It's not like they're spending money like you would be when you're gambling, so it's not a perfect analogy. They still, you know, get the reward of being in a relaxed state and the owner being pleased with them. And so with Zen, I'm doing an intermittent training schedule, but not using positive reinforcement, which is the giving of a treat to encourage a behavior, but using negative reinforcement, which sounds bad as well, but it's the removal of something to encourage behavior. So I'm removing myself. I step away from her to give her her own space to encourage behavior. So I brush, and when she blinks, I do the negative thing, which is to step away, in the hopes that it encourages her to stand still while I brush her in the future. Why does that work? Because she knows if she does stand still, I will eventually stop brushing and she gets some space. And that standing still is the option. Whereas if she tries to walk off, I pick up on the rope and then she has to go around again. So that would be, you know, her not wanting that behavior. She's more likely to try and stand still and wait, because that's where she stays most relaxed. That intermittent schedule of reinforcement, since I'm not giving her a treat and I'm not like asking for a behavior to last the duration of multiple times where she doesn't get a treat, I'm actually asking for her to blink multiple times before I stop. So I brush, and typically every time she blinks when she's learning, that's when I stop. But now that she's getting the hang of these skills, I only stop every, you know, second or third blink. Sometimes I brush her whole body before I stop. So that's an intermittent schedule of reward for negative reinforcement. I'm gonna pick that up. And all of that, it's not something I made up. If you're not familiar with it, that goes into a psychological training theory called operant conditioning. And that's another thing you can look up if you want to learn about it. There's a good blink. She bent her head towards me. She stayed with that for a long time, so that was really good. All right, well, I'm about done brushing now. I'm going to throw the brush. That's probably going to startle her. Picked up her head a little bit. She's got some concerned eyes, but she's blinking. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. All right, and then the fly spray, same thing. I fly sprayed her yesterday, so I'm not going to do her whole body. I'm probably just going to do her legs. Good girl. See how she's moving? So that's not what I want. So I'm just going to stick with it. Wait for that blink. There's the blink, and now I stop. I wouldn't do an intermittent training schedule where I push past that first blink until I can get it very consistently. It's not until the animal's comfortable with a reward every time they do a behavior that they even know what that good behavior is. You certainly don't want to skip rewarding a behavior at the beginning stages of learning. But since I've been brushing Zen every day, and she's gotten pretty used to that, she can stand relaxed while I brush her, that's a good sign that she is ready for me to start going for longer and longer periods of brushing her. And you saw she licked and chewed after that as well, because that was kind of a big one. She had a lot of spray. She mostly has issues with me spraying her legs, so that's no big deal. I'm going to reset her. Come back forward, honey. Pick up the rope. Step. Slacken the rope. Good. Pick up the rope. Slacken the rope. Good. Pick up the rope. Slacken the rope. See how it's getting better every time? Now the less tension she has, the faster she is in her responses. So the fact that I'm not giving her a lot of time to relax that tension means that the learning's going a little bit slower. But when I have more time and I'm not videoing, I can wait for her to reset herself. And once she resets, the learning progresses a lot faster. All right, I've got about 2% battery left on that GoPro, so that's all you're gonna get to see for today. But I hope you got a good idea of the progress that I've been making with Zen and how I've been going about getting to each additional step. In the next video, I'll go over the other skills that Zen has been working on and even show you some of the new things that we're doing to get prepared for some of our first rides, now that we're approaching the point where we're going to have to start learning how to ride together if we want to be competitive for the Extreme Mustang Makeover.